So uh, take it away, Becky.
Thanks, Todd. And thank you all for being here today. There are a few things that I want to talk about just for a minute, and then I do want to allow plenty of time for questions about various things. I want to start off by saying that I feel an enormous amount of stress in the air pretty much everywhere I go. So right before this meeting, I had a meeting with the guy who's the chief operating officer for our chess project, and he was talking to me about stress people are in that project, and that's spreading around different colleges, and so I want to talk about that for just a minute. And first of all, to let you know that I feel that too, and that that is sort of a different thing for me in a lot of ways, because I tend to think of myself as not getting all that stressed about a lot of things. I'm fairly comfortable with things being uncertain, but to a certain point. And I would say that we have gone beyond that point and what is, I think, acceptable. So there are a few things in the pandemic that I think Santa Fe Community College has done an outstanding job on. And I feel like I would almost say, knock on wood, that I feel like we have a certain sense of control here. We have done very well, exceptionally well, at keeping the case count down on our campus. And that has to do with every single one of you. It's people wearing masks, it's people getting vaccinated, it's people spacing out and doing all of the things that we know that we're supposed to do. So yes, I saw that we had a case right before I logged on, but we might see one a day, one every other day or something like that, but not that many. We have never been able to trace spread back to our campus. That is an excellent thing, and something that, frankly, I'm very relieved about. The other thing, we have done a really good job of implementing our vaccine mandate. I've told you all before that faculty and staff, that was really pretty much an easy thing. You know, we told everybody what the date was, everybody with a couple of exceptions where people got exemptions, people did it. Students did it more than we thought they were going to. I will say that Thomasina had to practically hunt people down, about 500 of them. But other than that, we have been able to get almost everybody on our campus vaccinated. I do want to say something about the exemption, because I think people are a little bit worried that maybe we have a lot of people with exemptions running around, and that not that many, you know, there really are a lot of unvaccinated people. I think there are about 20 exemptions or something. It's a very low number. And the other thing that I will add to that is that those individuals are all required to submit a weekly test, and they're doing it. So we are able to maintain that system. We're able to follow up on it, and we know who's doing what. It's an incredible amount of work. It's an incredible amount of resources. I can't wait till we don't have to do this, because it is a large task and it is a big drain on a lot of people to have to do this. But people are doing a really good job at it. So people should feel, I mean, I'm not telling you how to feel, but I think we are safe on campus. We are going to continue with our mask mandate through the end of the semester. Now, that is the earliest that we might release it. So we'll revisit it close to the end of the semester. We had a COVID task force meeting the other day, and we had a nice discussion about this. And people seem to think, and I think this makes perfect sense, that we have faculty who are teaching, we have people who are working on campus, we have students who have signed up for face-to-face classes with the assumption that we have a mask mandate in place. And so even though our case counts have gone way down, there are a lot of people that, you know, have compromised immune systems or live with people with compromised immune systems. So I don't really think it's fair to change the ground rules on people midstream. So we're just going to continue with the mask mandate for the rest of the semester and see where we are at that point. Hopefully we will, you know, be in a better place than we are now, and that, you know, the direction of the numbers continues to decline, but I'm not making any predictions. That I want to mention. So the other thing that we are all feeling stress from, I think, is the uncertainty of how things are going to work out. And one thing that
Hey, Becky.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having a weird audio issue.
Me too.
It sounds like you're in
it.
hold on one second. Let's figure this out. Let me just mute everybody.
Yeah, everybody needs to mute.
I think you got it. Is that okay?
That sounds better.
Thank you.
Let's give it a go. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. That's okay. But what I was saying, we can't control things. So, except when Todd can, I guess. One thing that we can't control is knowing how, first of all, how the pandemic's going to go and what our numbers are going to look like. We keep hearing about new variants and all those kinds of things, and maybe those will turn into something and maybe they won't. But that leaves a vast sense of anxiety over everyone, I think, because we're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's not really anything we can do about that except try to deal with it in any, the healthiest ways that we can. The other thing that I think is really difficult and that we're still kind of feeling our way through is trying to figure out what our students are going to do. So our enrollment numbers for summer and for this spring, or for this spring anyway, they're better. I mean, they're continuing to go up. We have late start classes in a couple of weeks. People are enrolling for those now. We're going to be able to, we've done better this semester. But what we don't really know is whether or not our students are going to continue to take a large number of their classes online, or whether they're going to decide, okay, well, it's fine to do online while we kind of felt like we needed to, and now we're just going to go ahead and come back to campus. We don't know. Apparently there are a lot of students who are kind of discovering what some of the benefits of online instruction can be. We're all getting better at doing online instruction. And so I think we're going to see a shift in a lot of our attendance patterns. That's my prediction. I may be wrong. We have to wait and see. But one of the things that is a consequence of all this is kind of the vibe on campus. So when you come on campus right now, and some people most people are coming on 2 to 3 days a week. It kind of depends on what your job is, what your schedule is, but it feels pretty empty around here. I had the pleasure of being able to go to the sim lab for an hour or so today and watch a simulation. The lab was full of students, everybody was there. But when you walk down the hall to get there, it seems pretty empty. There are people in classes, but there aren't a lot of people milling around. I predict that we are going to feel that for quite some time. I know that is difficult for some people. It feels weird to me, but I think that there are going to be a lot of changes that come out of the way that we've had to live and work and go to school for the last couple of years. It'll take a while for us to go back to what we might think of as a sense of normalcy. So one thing that's happening right now, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So right now, as I said, most people are working some kind of a hybrid schedule. So you may be here 2 days a week, you may be here 3 days a week, whatever. So when you come on campus for your 2 or 3 days a week or whatever, you may feel like there aren't any other people here. And the reason for that is that we're not all working the same 2 and 3 days a week. And, it's kind of startling sometimes. And it, there's not the same sense of, wow, there are a lot of people here. Most days when I come to work, I'm in my office by myself, and I was telling somebody the other day, it's kind of like being at home, only in a different room in some ways, unless I have a little bit of time to kind of go walking around, and then there aren't that many people here. We're having to adjust to this. And what I am hoping, and I've had to catch myself and tell myself, when I walk down the hall, it doesn't mean like, what's going on in there? There's nobody working in there. Why is this happening? I don't understand what's going on. The functions are still going at full capacity. I have not had an instance yet in the last, I guess, 2 years now, where I have needed to reach a particular area on campus, or ask for something or whatever, where I just couldn't get the area. I thought that had happened the other day when I got a call from someone off campus, and then I found out that it was one of those interesting student issues, and so that wasn't really the case after all. So we are functioning at a very high level. Our virtual services are working really well. This is new for us. Now students can do advising online. They have financial aid appointments either online or on the phone. All of these things that students had to come out to our campus for, and we, if they want to come, we want them to come. But now, if they want to do something online for convenience, they can do that. That's a benefit to our students. This is something that we have exceeded what I thought we could do, especially in the time period that we were able to do it. I asked Josh for some data the other day about retention for students who are taking classes face-to-face only and students who are taking online classes only. And I think the data started in like 2009 or something like that. And every year up to 2020, we had a significantly higher percentage of students who persisted, that we retained when they were only face-to-face, and a significantly lower, like almost 20% lower number of students who persisted if they were online only. Those numbers are even now. And I don't think that's just because students don't have any choice. The percentages have really drastically changed because students are really starting to change their behavior for how they're attending. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's kind of irrelevant in some ways. What's important is that we have to embrace them in whatever mode they decide that they want to come. And we have to provide the highest quality services and the highest quality instruction that we can. And I know that we do. One thing that I have been able to say with pride anytime I, talk to people on campus or talk to people off of campus during this whole time, is that I really feel like we just get better and better and better at how we serve our students. And I'd like, one of the things that I want to add is that not only do we need to serve our students, but we need to help each other. And so, that means, interdepartmental work, whether that's, working with various areas on campus, but helping each other, trusting each other, and being able to give each other the benefit of the doubt. I find myself making assumptions all the time. I know I don't catch myself all the time either, but sometimes I'll make a comment or something and people are pretty quick to say, no, that's really not what's happening. Here's what's really happening. Just because you don't see this or that doesn't mean it's not happening. And I know they're right, because what I have not seen ever is that we're just not getting something done. We are getting things done, and we're getting them done very well. We had a very good legislative session. The legislators are extremely complimentary and very supportive of Santa Fe Community College for all the great work that we do in our community and in our region. And I am proud to be part of that. And I'm happy to be able to tell you all that that is the reputation that we have throughout our community and really statewide too, and how important that is to everyone. So I'm going to switch gears here and talk about something else in just a minute, but I just want to say that even though we all feel this vast uncertainty sometimes that really often leads to a sense of angst, and it does it to everybody, and sometimes even if you don't realize it, it creeps up on you in some kind of weird way, and then you just, for me, I'll get snappish or something. But this is happening to all of us, and we need to give each other a break, because it's hard. It's hard not knowing if we're going to be able to go to work, go to class in the same format that we've, kind of gotten to where we like. It's hard to deal with, okay, yes, I still want to work a somewhat remote schedule, and yet I'd like to see all the people that I love working with here all the time. We can't have it both ways. And so we're going to have to figure out how that's going to look for us. And that's going to be kind of a semester by semester determination based upon some things that's partly out of our control. But that's okay. We've been doing exceptionally well up to this time. We'll continue to do that. So in a minute, if you all have questions about that, things you want to discuss about that, I'm happy to do that. One thing that I do also want to give a quick update on, and I didn't really get to do that very well in our last event, and also things changed very quickly, is kind of what's going on with our chess project. Quite honestly, not everybody is probably interested in every single excruciating detail of what's going on here. And I can probably, there are people who are listening to this who are probably laughing because it is very technical at this point and it's very detailed. So as you know, we're working right now on the human services module, the payroll module, the finance module. It's complicated, it's time consuming. And when I talked earlier about giving people a break, the people who are working on this project from HR, from IT, from payroll, and from finance, many of them are in meetings 6 to 8 hours a day, several days a week right now as they get through the implementation piece. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to imagine. But what they're doing is making decisions as a group, a large group that is representing the interests of their individual college, as well as looking at advances that can help all of us benefit in figuring out how to go forward. So many of these people are still having to do their day job at some point too. There is an end in sight for this. This is not, they're going to be their working life for the rest of their time here. It's hard enough knowing that there's an end date in sight for this. It's still really hard. So one of the things that I'm going to ask right now is that as we go forward, so you all know that Banner is going away. Not maybe. Maybe someday, or we don't know. It is going away. And the first part of it that's going away are going to be the payroll, HR, finance, those functions, as I've said. The student project will start after the first of the year, I think it is, and that's a 2 to 3 year implementation time. So since Banner is going away, I think it only makes sense, and it's actually only really feasible for us to really limit any kind of technical change that we want to do to Banner right now. Because whatever we do right now is going to have a very, very brief shelf life. Everything in Banner is going away. It will not be the same. So I just threw a little bit more angst in the air right now, I'm sure, by saying that. But we have purchased something that's going to be a lot better. I feel fully confident in saying that, even though I'm not on the implementation team, and there are probably people saying she shouldn't say that because she really doesn't know what she's talking about. And there's a certain amount of truth to that. But the ease of what we will be able to do is going to be highly improved. All of those things that we get annoyed with, all of our different functions on campus, and we say, why is it so hard to hire somebody? Why is our time card so weird? Why are all these things happening? They're not going to be there anymore. All of those processes will be improved. But we've got to be able to allow people to make those improvements now and to work on those. And yes, if something breaks, we will fix it. But I really don't think we ought to be doing anything new right now that's going to involve much of a technical application, because it really is almost impossible for us to get it done. I want to address right now too what I've heard and what I know other colleges are hearing, and I get why you might think this. There was a concern that as we work to consolidate some of our, they call them back office functions. I'm not exactly sure why. So we're going to consolidate our payroll. And so people are worried that, does that mean that we won't need payroll anymore, or people are going to lose their jobs, or that our goal is to reduce our number of staff? The answer to all of those things is no. So right now we have a complicated payroll. Payroll is complicated. We have complicated jobs. We have a lot of jobs. We don't all have the same jobs. It is being worked on by our smartest payroll people. So I have no doubt that it will be highly functional. But what we distinguish ourselves as Santa Fe Community College is not the way that we process payroll. It's not the way that we process purchase orders and things like that. Although all of those things are important and we have top-notch people doing those jobs, you know, we're here to teach our students. And so I want to be able to, you know, distinguish ourselves by how we do those kinds of things. So as you see, you know, as this goes forward more and more, we won't lose people. We will not lose positions. We will maybe change things later on. There may be evolutions of positions, and it would be in the area of upgrading positions, because what we're doing is taking a lot of the rote manual processes out of how we do business and making those more automated. But somebody has to oversee that. Somebody has to determine how that should work. So we're not eliminating anybody's position. So I hope that people will hear that who are concerned about it. That was never the intent, and that is still not the intent. But I can see why, you know, people might raise it as a concern. Anytime you talk about a consolidation, people think, oh, okay, well, you're trying to get rid of something. We're trying to get rid of processes, not people. And I can't stress that enough. So as we go along, and as we move, you know, the HR and finance modules are getting ready to go in a test phase soon. I think they're doing training and then moving into the test phase, and then they will go live in you know, several months. We will have to run 2 systems for a while. That is sort of painful, but that's pretty much how you do an implementation. And then we'll move into the student part, and several years down the road, we will have fully implemented Workday. There are other colleges that are in negotiation right now for going into a second wave of colleges that'll go through what we're doing right now. I don't know what the timeline is for that, but that is something. San Juan College is already in that second wave, and so they will be probably the lead institution in going through. So they won't have what we are deciding now, they will be implementing, and we've kind of made those decisions for them, and that was kind of the nature of how this has been designed. So but the academic piece of this, we haven't even started yet. So those of you who work in other areas and you're thinking, I haven't heard anything about this, I hope they're not making decisions that I'm going to hate. We're not even, well, we might be thinking about it, but certainly no decisions have been made at this point at all. So as it gets time to start working on that, there will be a large call out for teams of people who can work on this and who are interested and willing and want to do this kind of work. And then we'll go from there. I'm excited about the final product and what we're going to have. And I think that, you know, everyone else should be proud to be part of this, because it really is kind of a groundbreaking enterprise. I think that I'm going to stop there and see if anyone has any questions, and turn this back over to Todd and let him kind of moderate questions, and then we can continue from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
While everyone kind of warms up there, question hands, their virtual question hands. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little update about the legislative session, where things are with the governor.
You know, just as you started saying that question, I was thinking I should give a little legislative session or update. So, yeah, there are several key things that are going on right now. So, as you probably all know, the language in House Bill 2 is that, you know, there is a 7% raise on the table for all higher education, faculty, staff, everybody. The way that that's currently worded is that we would give a 3% raise in the last quarter of this fiscal year and then a 4% raise next fiscal year. That language might change. HED has been reaching out for a lot of comments on the wording in that bill, and so I'm not really sure that I think that percentage will be there. Partly what they get twisted up around is the word average, because they'll say that we have to give an average compensation of that, and then people want to know, well, you know, who doesn't fall into the average. That will be for, you know, for all of our faculty and staff, assuming that the number stays the same. The other thing that's in House Bill 2 that's kind of interesting that people need to be aware of is that there is still language that would allow DFA to withhold up to 3% of the funding of any college that experiences a 50% decline in enrollment over 5 years. And we're not there, but we're closer than I'd like to be. So it's really good that we're trending back up the other way, and I think that you know, we should be fine there. But what's important to me too is that DFA is really scrutinizing enrollment now in a way that I've never seen them do before. There are a couple of colleges that they're looking closely, and so that's something. The other piece of House Bill 2 that impacts us is that we do need to, LFC, there's language in the bill right now where LFC could withhold, I think it's 3% of our funding until we have submitted enrollment plans that HED approves. And so everybody's kind of gotten twisted around, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? What do they have to be? Da, 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 and all that kind of stuff. I am not too concerned about that. Actually, I think that HED will be reasonable about that. LFC will be reasonable about that. We are very capable of submitting a good enrollment plan. We have a good enrollment plan, so that's not a worry to me. So if you see that language, don't think that that's problematic. We are receiving, our firstborn program is receiving an appropriation of $445,000 partly to conduct a study to make them eligible for Medicaid funding and to provide an evidence-based practice background for them. We had a couple of RPSPs that were funded at least the level we requested, and some a little higher in things like teacher education. Small Business Development Center comes through as an RPSP for questionable reasons, but they got a little extra money. We've got more nursing money through our RPSP line. EMSI has money in there that they will receive. There's also a $15 million fund for nursing education that we will try to take advantage of. We can apply for that money to expand our program. It would pay for salaries for nursing instructors, and I think it would pay for some, you know, equipment expansion and that kind of stuff if we would choose to go that route. So those are kind of the highlights. I think we were approved for $2.3 million for the next GO bond cycle, which will be in the fall. And so you'll start hearing, you know, those kind of the publicity coming for that starting in the summer probably. And that pattern will be about the same. And then there's the Opportunity Scholarship, SB 140, which is a really nice thing for community college students. One thing that they are kind of, there is a little bit of question, I think, about how this language will shake out in the final bill. Has to do with how certificates can be counted. Originally, students could get one certificate. The way the bill was amended, they could get multiple certificates. I don't know if that'll stay or not. But the good news is it's for part-time students as well as full-time students, as long as they're taking at least 6 credit hours. Students who have gone to college and then stopped out or just didn't go to college initially are eligible for the scholarship. So that hits the largest swath of our student population. So that's really good. And as I said, overall, I feel like we did well. It was a weird session with the format being sometimes virtual, sometimes in person, but we did well.
Yeah, the Opportunity Scholarship, in kind of looking at that and how it's being framed, and we all know we're all educators here to some level, and so we know the differences. Some of the differences are that compared to the lottery scholarship, for example, are that in this one, you don't have to just go straight out of high school into college to be eligible for it. You could be a student, who's returning to school, or you could come from a variety of different backgrounds, which will hopefully have an appeal to a wider range of people. But how do you feel about that? There might be some that are saying, oh, well, this should just open up the floodgates and, people will be coming in droves to college now. We on the ground level, have probably a measured perspective on this, but how do you answer that when people kind of ask you about that?
Well, I do think we should have a measured response, because I don't think that it's going to just open the floodgates. It will certainly be very beneficial for a lot of our students. And one of the things that didn't happen in the bill that was, originally in what the governor was proposing, but in a lot of the horse trading back and forth, it kind of got stripped out, was that there was essentially going to be kind of one single financial aid package to where everybody would fill out the FAFSA, and then basically everybody would get their tuition paid, whether it be through Pell or lottery or opportunity or whatever, but it was kind of a single point of entry. And there was, I think, an appeal to that in terms of convenience, even though it might not have been as different for students as what it sounded like. But a lot of what our students struggle with is the cost of lost wages. And so even though we can provide free tuition to most of our students, and our tuition is relatively low, what we can't always do is supplement the income that students would lose for when they come back to school. So, we know that it's sometimes better and students can make progress more quickly if they take more classes, if they're taking 12 hours instead of 6 or something like that. But the problem is, there was a day when the Pell Grant would kind of cover the lost wages from not working all the time that you are now spending going to school. And it's just really not that way anymore. And so it's really difficult for students to find what that point is where they can truly afford to go to school and work a certain amount and make that work for them going forward. And so because of that, even though now we can say, we're on the verge of becoming a free college state, it's still really important for us to work on trying to assist students with their financial resources.
Okay. Thank you. All right, team. This is the part where you don't ask too many questions, and we'll get towards the end and you're all going to have like 20 hands up, and then we'll run out of time. So what do we say here? All right. Dr. DeGiulio, welcome.
Hi, I have a couple of questions about hiring. One is immediate and one is kind of like Todd's comment. So first of all, do we have a schedule in place for hiring our third dean? And then looking forward, we now have greater number of instructional modalities to offer students, synchronous, asynchronous, blended, high flex, and COVID seems to be calming down, fingers crossed. What's the college's strategy for recruiting and retaining highly qualified and experienced faculty beyond the obvious of adequate compensation?
So in answer to your first question, Steve, about the schedule for hiring a dean, I believe that position has just been posted. And so it will be getting a committee together, and we will post it for a month. And it will, go to all of the typical higher ed resource places for hiring faculty. And then we will try to, my goal is that, we get the committee together and that we're able to have this finished by the end of the semester. I don't know if Yash and Margaret, you two are really more involved in the actual nuts and bolts of that, if you have something to add.
We're in the process of getting it posted. We hope to get it within the next day or two posted. And so, thank you.
I get confused. I approve it at various stages along the way. And so I keep thinking, okay, there it is. It's out. And then it's like the thing before the posting or whatever. But that's how it goes with people admin, which will also be going away. But as far as recruiting new, talented faculty and everything, that's a very good question, and something that we've been having really good conversations with HR about, in terms of trying to, provide. One of the things that will help us in hiring is to have a smoother hiring process. It is not good when I know of instances where, and I'm not singling us out. Other colleges are not good at this either, but we're going to be a whole lot better about it. But when it takes forever to be able to hire a faculty member, whether that is full-time or adjunct, then sometimes people are like, well, I just gave up and I decided to do something else, or I just assumed that, you didn't want me or whatever. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just that we're just incredibly slow. And so we are going to make that better. There are a couple of specific things that we are going to do to speed that up. I do think that will make a difference. But the other thing is that as we do, as we post, we need to look at any kinds of changes that we need to make in postings that would talk about the specificity of those newer skills that we expect people to have now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Becky, we went through this transition 2 years ago to adjust quickly to remote and then in some areas of the campus we're coming back in person, and others are finding that they're effective in some places. And then we kind of got into this winter and snow days happened. I wonder if, I've been fielding a few questions just about, how snow days are, what's changed. Would you mind just sharing some of your thoughts about as we kind of navigate these days?
That's a good question. So, one of the things that I think that we all have to remember when, we're trying to figure out our ways through this and be clear on, is that we don't all have the same job. And so the modality that we can do our job from kind of varies from place to place. Most of us have been able to work online in some capacity. Some people really like it. Some people don't like it. I would say that it has been, more and less effective for different areas, but I am willing, and I think it's important for us to offer that virtual modality on a different kind of basis, depending upon the job it is going forward, so that you can still, work online a couple of days a week if, that's what you want to do. The main thing is that we have areas covered on campus and we have areas covered off campus. It really, the important thing for coverage on campus really has to do with student-facing entities. And so a student needs to be able to do something off campus and on campus with pretty much equal ease. So that changes in a lot of ways what we think of as a snow day. So when everybody was going to campus, then when, you know, it snowed and we had a snow day, then you just stayed home and it was basically a free day. It's not a free day anymore. So there are some gives and takes in the way that we're doing things. So now that we can work remotely, if there is a full-blown snow day where we're going to be closed all day long, then that really means it's a remote day for everybody. Unless you have a job on campus where you have to come to work, and we need to remember that there are a number of people who are going to be coming to work even on a snow day. But instead of it just being a day where we're just closed and we don't have, you know, there's no contact with anyone, things go on. You know, we are still having classes. Now, if you had a face-to-face class that met on a Monday when we close a campus or something like that, obviously you may have to make, you know, different arrangements with your class. But when people are using Canvas and, you know, assignments are posted and we can still communicate, it's not like we're just shut down and we've been cut off. Virtual services still need to function while we're online. So it's different. And I know some people don't like that. But I think that since we are working online still a significant amount of time, that we can't have virtual days off, and then also have snow days, because we've been having a lot of snow days lately, it seems like. But basically, it just means you don't have to get in your car and brave the snow and come to work.
Yeah, and they all seem to be falling on Thursdays.
That I know they do.
Steve, is that a new hand?
I think it's been there.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
no, it's old.
Okay. Old hand. That's like the word of 2021 for this college, I feel like.
Yep.
Old hand.
It's an old hand.
Okay, well, let me make a call for any other comments here, questions.
So if
All right,
I
Becky.
may,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. If I may ask to just a little bit more about the snow day thing. You know, so for those of us with young children, you know, snow days are one of the big benefits that we had working at SFCC, because it gave us the opportunity to stay home and care for our kids when they didn't have school. For example, I have a child who attends kids campus, and so our own facility is closed, and there's the expectation that I still need to work from home and either find emergency childcare or juggle my kids at the same time. And I find that hard. And I'd also like to just say, you know, for those who don't have children, it's also becomes a lost leave benefit, and significant when we're looking at 3, 4, 5 days a year. And so I understand that we want to serve the students during those days as best we can, but it also seems to be, you know, a lost benefit, as well as apathy towards those who have to take care of their children, which has obviously, you know, we're all happy to have our jobs over the pandemic to work from home and also while schools are closed, but how long are we going to do that for?
Well, I think that you know, that may carry forward in different ways in department to department going forward. I fully expect that we will allow virtual working forever. We are allowing more and more people to work from home fully. It has expanded our applicant pool. It has expanded our reach in terms of being able to hire people. And so I think it's a benefit for most people. And, you know, that's something that I think that we can get more information on and review that. But I think that most people would feel that being able to work from home is a benefit. And so, it kind of evens out with the couple of snow days that we might have a year. And people are always free to be able to take leave, if it's, inconvenient or whatever. We try to model our snow days on Santa Fe Public Schools as much as we can, but it's not, obviously not a perfect match. And we try to do that as much as we possibly can. But that is something that's just come up as a point for discussion really, really recently. And so I think that, we can also kind of look at this a little bit, department by department, because there are some areas where, you have on-campus teaching or something like that. And I don't really know, people can, work on assignments or something at home, but that's a little bit different situation than saying, okay, we're going to, you're going to advise from home or do something like that. And honestly, I expect supervisors to be able to figure out the schedule. And so I am not going to micromanage everybody's schedule and make sure that we're all working the same number of minutes or something. That is something that I think is best handled at the functional area. I did see a question about food, and I do want to address that quickly. So the East Wing Eatery is open now. They are providing like a bigger array. They're doing, ramping up more and more. They've asked about having additional resources so that they can be open even more than they are. And so I would like to be able to fulfill that request and be able to do that. We are also trying to have a regular schedule of food trucks as much as we can. And I met this morning with some of us met with the Barnes and Noble folks this morning. They are planning to be on campus in April, and they will also have some additional, they call them grab and go things, but they would be things that are not like your regular junk food snacks, although those too, because, we need that too. But also things, like they referred to them as grab and go, like I think things like yogurt and fruit and stuff like that, that would be at the front of the store and that would be easily accessible. Still the long-term plan. And I say, I'm not going to give a date when this is going to happen because it depends upon what our traffic is like on campus, is to try to get a local food vendor, a restaurant, to come on campus, and we can make an arrangement that is that works with them. The problem is that no one is going to do that unless there is enough foot traffic to support that. And so that, I realize that's an inconvenience on the days that you're on campus. I find it an inconvenience too. If I can't get over to the East Wing Eatery, I usually leave here really hungry. But we're just going to have to adapt the way that we can, because what I don't want to have happen is to allow somebody to come on campus and encourage them to come and have it be a bust for them and to have them leave. And then we'll have a really hard time getting anybody back. So we need to know or be pretty sure that we can support that. I see a question about commencement too. So I don't know all the details, but I do know that we are planning an in-person commencement. It will not be the same commencement that we've had before, where we just have hundreds of people in the fitness center, but we will have some people in the fitness center. So I don't know if Todd or Tomasino knows more about how we're going to do that and wants to share any details about that. But unless something really dramatic happens between now and then, that's the plan. So that'll be something I think to really look forward to.
I think you summed it up, Thomasina. Hi.
Yeah, no, 100%. We are excited to have an in-person commencement. Details are coming. The committee is getting together and starting the major discussions, but we're hoping to involve as many people as possible across campus. But the full details will be coming soon. So we'll be sharing that with everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's see how many people we have. 142 people. Can I just ask everyone to get their virtual hands ready? I want to do a quick poll, informal poll, straw poll here. So raise your hand if you have ever experienced shortcomings or less than optimal cell phone service on campus or in the campus grounds.
Good poll, Todd.
Let me see. Keep going. I'll give it a second.
Now it was in the
He
basement.
says, I'm in the basement. That's a.
Yeah.
Okay. Literally just happened today. Okay. Let me hold on. Let me see. I want to see. I want to unfold this more. Oh, there's so many. I just want to count them. Okay. One more.
68.
Oh, go ahead.
60
Julia.
others. There's like 68 hands up right now.
Okay, thank you.
Did you just count all those? Jill?
Nope, my screen told me that.
Okay, I was gonna say, wow.
I'm looking in the wrong place. There it is. I see the little
Yeah, see at the top?
69. Oh, someone took their hand down. Oh, it's going. What's happened? So some of the comments we literally could not text each other. One more question. Everyone put their hands down. Let me give you a second. Just hands down. Oh, you take mine down too. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay. How many of you?
My hand doesn't want to go down. Let me see.
Yeah, neither does mine. I think we broke teams.
I think we did.
How many of you?
I had to hit Control-Shift-K.
Yeah, that's what I had to do too.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay, that works. Control-Shift-K.
If you're on a Mac. Or maybe that's on everything. Okay,
It
never
worked
mind.
on my PC too. All right, thanks. Okay, sorry. Try to Control-Shift-K your hand down there. Good job, everyone. Okay. How many of you feel like these shortcomings in service present either a security or a safety issue for either you or the students?
I'm sorry, Todd, can you repeat that?
How many of you feel that the shortcomings in cell phone service on campus present a safety or security issue for employees and students on campus?
A lot.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to hijack that with this poll, but it's like this power, you know. There's a lot of good comments here. And Becky, I wonder, you know, do you want to talk about that a little more, or should we just leave it there?
No, that's a good idea. So we have been approached by a vendor who would like to put a tower on our campus that would enhance the cell signal on our campus and in the neighborhood. Their proposal is to go out onto the softball field or near the softball field. It would be like a skinny pole. He told me kind of like, you know, a light pole, but it would be, I think, 75 feet tall. There would be the first carrier to join on would be T-Mobile, and then they would allow all of the other carriers to go on so that, you know, we could do that. The college would receive I would say kind of a minimal amount of money from doing this, but it's, you know, certainly not going to cost us anything. They would take care of all the environmental impact study, doing everything to get it Yes, Rusty, you're kind of right. It is kind of like that, I think. So that anyway, it wouldn't be anything that we would have to take care of or anything. And there would certainly be, things in the contract where if the technology vastly changed, and he talked at our board meeting last night. And so we brought him in to talk to the board so that the board could have some information about this, think about it, start a discussion. We will talk to neighbors. We're not going to just do this, even though we could. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. But it is a serious issue. So this was also raised, our crappy cell service was raised as a concern in our master plan. And so it was raised as a like a safety issue in our master plan. When we have done emergency rescue type operations with the city and the county before, it comes up then. So I feel like it's more than an inconvenience. It's really almost a liability, because we know it's bad, and we know that there is a possibility that somebody could need to make a 911 call on our campus and it wouldn't work. And that is, I think, terrible. So I also know that there will probably be people who think that this is not a good idea. And we are very aware of trying to see, if we can kind of figure out where it might be visible from, and it really might not be visible from anybody's house, and see what that would look like. But I think that the safety issue is so strong that that's going to have to take precedence over, somebody's idea of what they like. But I'm really appreciative of Todd doing a little poll to see what people on our campus think. So it's not just me sitting here not moving at all and having cell phone calls drop.
Thanks. And I know
it would be 5G.
I know this topic can become kind of a rabbit hole, but thank you for sharing a little more with us now. And it's 4:30. That means that I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Becky, do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to thank everybody for being here this afternoon, and to tell you again how much I appreciate what each and every one of you do. I mean, it's hard, and I know that there's so much uncertainty and angst. It's like you're afraid to hear the news at night or whatever. It all just kind of compounds. But I'm right there with you, and we need to be there for each other. But again, if anybody has any other questions later that you didn't think of now or whatever, feel free to email me or whatever, and I will see you all soon. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.